Sometimes the hardest word to say isn't "I love you." It's actually no. Not because you don't know what you want, not because you lack discernment, not because you're weak, but because somewhere along the way, saying no stopped feeling emotionally safe. In today's episode, we're talking about why so many people say yes when they desperately want to say no in relationships, family dynamics, friendships, workplaces, and everyday social situations. We're also exploring the psychology behind people-pleasing, emotional bullying, conflict avoidance, and nervous system conditioning that can make self-protection feel frightening instead of empowering. So be my guest, grab your favorite beverage, and settle in with me for this deeply important conversation.
Becoming the magnificence in me, empowered, strong, and gracefully, with poise and elegance, I can see I am who I was born to be.
Welcome to Becoming Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment, a sanctuary for women who desire to live with purpose, grace, and quiet confidence. I'm Sine Lusinger, your host, author, and transformation guide. Gentlemen are welcome to listen in, but this space is intentionally crafted for the elegant woman becoming all she's meant to be. If this conversation resonates and you'd like focused private support, I invite you to explore private coaching. You can find more information anytime at becomingpublishing.com. Now, let's step into today's topic. Have you ever noticed that you overrode yourself in real time? I know I've done it and immediately thought, why did I just say yes when I don't even want to do that at all? It could be baking treats for the fundraiser, taking on another team's project at work, going to an event you have no interest in, or going out with someone you're not really crazy about. Many women come to me emotionally exhausted because they keep saying yes to things they never truly wanted to do in the first place. Honestly, this issue doesn't only affect women. I've also known deeply kind, tender-hearted, masculine men who struggled with people-pleasing, conflict avoidance, and overextending themselves because they feared disappointing others or losing connections. The behavior may look different, but at its core, it's often the same. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of punishment or retaliation, fear of abandonment, or fear of losing love and belonging. As you can see, fear is at the root of all these. I did an episode on banishing fear in season 1 you may want to revisit after you finish this conversation. Now, I think this distinction is important. There's a difference between wanting to be liked and feeling psychologically unsafe disappointing people. Those are not the same things. Wanting approval or acceptance is a normal human experience connected to belonging and identity, but chronic people-pleasing is often rooted in fear, emotional conditioning, and survival adaptation. Sometimes people are not saying yes because they truly want to. Sometimes they're saying yes because somewhere in their history they learned saying no creates danger. That danger may be emotional, relational, verbal, psychological, or even physical. Once your nervous system learns that saying no creates punishment, intimidation, volatility, or emotional withdrawal, self-protection can begin feeling frightening instead of empowering. I understand this deeply because earlier in my life, I often would go into what I now call pleasing mode. I would over-explain, justify myself, try to make people understand me, try to keep the peace, try to prevent conflict. Eventually, I realized something. Some people are not approaching you with love, compassion, or respect to begin with. Once you truly understand that, something shifts internally. You stop abandoning yourself, trying to earn emotional safety from people committed to misunderstanding, controlling, or emotionally overpowering you. As I wrote in Becoming Lavishly Loving, a royal woman is not controlling. She is not manipulative. She does not rule others. She governs herself. That's what boundaries actually are. Not punishments, not cruelty, not emotional walls. Boundaries are self-governance. They are structures that protect your peace, emotional safety, and inner world. Or as I wrote in the book, boundaries do not control others. They regulate access. That line is the heart of this entire episode because many people think boundaries are about controlling other people's behavior. They are not. They're about deciding what access people have to you, what behaviors you will tolerate, and what environments feel emotionally safe for your life. And honestly, people who benefited from your lack of boundaries may not celebrate when you finally begin protecting yourself. As I wrote in the book, anyone who resents your boundaries have been benefiting from your lack of them. That's an extremely painful realization for many people, especially for people who were raised to prioritize harmony, overfunction emotionally, avoid conflicts, or keep the peace at their own expense. One of the most important lessons I've learned is this: you do not step down from your throne to be chosen. You do not abandon yourself to keep someone close. Anyone who requires you to betray your peace, dignity, or emotional safety in order to maintain the relationship was never standing beside your throne properly to begin with. As I wrote years ago in The Princess Guide to Loving Yourself First, I needed to stay on my throne with my crown on and not respond. That line still matters because boundaries are often less about controlling others and more about refusing to abandon yourself. I invite you to stay with me because next we're going to explore what psychology says about people-pleasing, boundaries, and emotional safety. If this conversation is resonating and you recognize yourself in what we're discussing, I invite you to apply for private coaching. I work privately with a small number of women each season who are ready to rebuild confidence, strengthen emotional boundaries, and make clear decisions in life and love. This is structured, focused work, not surface motivation. If you're navigating heartbreak or life transitions and you want grounded private support, you can apply at becomingpublishing.com. I personally review every application. Psychology actually has language for many of these behaviors now. Research and trauma experts have explored people-pleasing, self-silencing, attachment wounds, emotional conditioning, nervous system responses, codependency, and what trauma therapist Pete Walker calls the fawn response. The fawn response is a survival strategy where people attempt to stay emotionally or physically safe by appeasing, accommodating, or pleasing others. When I first learned about these concepts through my own studies and work with clients, something became very clear to me. Sometimes people-pleasing is not kindness. Sometimes it's survival. This is especially true for people who have experienced emotional bullying, emotional volatility, intimidation, abandonment, rejection, ridicule, or punishment after setting boundaries. Many women in particular are socially conditioned toward agreeableness, emotional caretaking, accommodation, relational harmony, and keeping other people emotionally comfortable. But men can struggle with those too. I've seen men express people-pleasing through over-providing, rescuing, emotional suppression, conflict avoidance, or trying to earn worth through usefulness and performance. Let me say something clearly about rescuing before we go on. Rescuing is appropriate and helpful when someone is not capable of doing something for themselves. I am not saying that men should stand by and let a woman be assaulted by another man. What I'm saying is that rescuing can become a problem when we do for others what they can do for themselves because it sets up a dynamic in which we can be used and controlled by others, which disempowers us. When it comes to men and women, the external behavior may differ, but underneath it is often the same fear. If I disappoint people, I may lose love, approval, or connection. Researcher Brené Brown has spoken extensively about shame, belonging, and the human fear of disconnection. Let's face it, many people are not saying yes because they genuinely want to. They're saying yes because they fear the emotional, physical, or economic consequences of saying no. That's a very different conversation. Harriet Lerner explained that anxiety often increases when relationship patterns begin changing. This means that healthy boundaries may initially feel emotionally uncomfortable, precisely because they disrupt familiar systems and expectations. Discomfort does not automatically mean your boundary is weak or wrong. Sometimes it simply means the system is adjusting. I love this reminder from Nedra Glover to WABA. Quote, healthy boundaries do not destroy healthy relationships. They reveal whether the relationship was healthy to begin with, end quote. That's powerful because many people think boundaries create disconnection. In reality, boundaries often create clarity, and clarity allows you to finally see who respects you, who only tolerated your lack of boundaries, and who genuinely values your well-being. Many women come to me emotionally exhausted from constantly managing other people's reactions while quietly abandoning themselves in the process. I also know men who carry this exhaustion too, especially tender-hearted men who have spent years prioritizing peace, approval, or emotional survival over their own needs. If you're currently navigating difficult family dynamics, emotional bullying, relationship pressure, people-pleasing, or boundary confusion, the Clarity Reset was created exactly for these moments. It's a private 50-minute session designed to help you hear yourself clearly again, strengthen your emotional discernment, and begin making decisions that align with your well-being instead of your fear. It's available to you without an application. You can learn more anytime at becomingpublishing.com. I invite you to stay with me because next I'm going to give you some actionable things you can do to change this pattern in your life. Many of the ideas we're exploring this season are expanded on in my newest book, Becoming Lavishly Loving, available on Spotify, my website, and most online booksellers. It explores intuition, emotional boundaries, and protecting your inner world with elegance. For women who are ready to apply this work in real time, not just understand it intellectually, I offer a private 3-month coaching container where we rebuild confidence and clarity from the inside out. You can learn more and apply at becomingpublishing.com. So now let's bring this conversation into real life because awareness matters, but application changes lives. Number 1, ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I say no? Is it rejection, conflict, abandonment, anger, guilt, retaliation, emotional withdrawal, disapproval, physical abuse, financial withdrawal? Sometimes identifying the fear reveals the real issue. Number 2, this is your opportunity to pay attention to your body. Your nervous system often recognizes emotional danger before your mind fully processes it. Notice tightness in your chest, a rock sitting in your stomach, heaviness, anxiety, exhaustion, dread, hypervigilance, spiraling thoughts. The elegant woman learns to trust the signals her body gives her. Number 3, try practicing short boundaries instead of over-explaining. Examples of this include saying things like, that doesn't work for me. No, thank you. I'm not available for that. I've decided not to. I need to prioritize my well-being right now. You do not need a courtroom defense for every personal boundary. Number 4, observe how people react when you begin protecting yourself. Healthy people may occasionally feel disappointed, but emotionally healthy people do not consistently punish you for having boundaries. Elegant women eventually learn something important. Not everyone belongs inside the castle gates. Some people only had access to you because you never realized you were allowed to close the gates. Number 5, I encourage you to remember this. Every time you abandon yourself to maintain temporary peace externally, you create conflict internally. Over time, that internal conflict becomes emotional exhaustion. Sometimes the most powerful no is the one that finally reconnects you to yourself. Many women come to me when they're quietly realizing they've spent years managing other people's emotions while neglecting their own emotional safety, boundaries, and peace. If today's conversation sparks something inside you, I invite you to continue this journey with me through the Becoming podcast by subscribing to the show on whichever platform you use so that these conversations can meet you in the moments when you need them. If the quotes from this conversation resonated with you, you can explore my latest book, Becoming Lavishly Loving, and apply for the Clarity Reset session anytime through my website at becomingpublishing.com. If you're a podcaster or community leader looking for thoughtful conversations around emotional wellness, self-worth, relationships, and personal transformation, I'm always open to aligned guest appearances and speaking opportunities. If you found something enlightening in this episode, be my guest and share it with your fabulous friends who could benefit from these conversations. I also want to thank FeedSpot for recognizing Becoming Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment as one of the top 20 Elegance podcasts for 2026. I'm truly honored to have you here. I'll leave you with this reminder. You have value and worth. You are a treasure. You can live authentically and elegantly at the same time by protecting your kingdom within through healthy boundary setting. Keep your crown on and stay on your throne. And remember, this is where awareness begins to become something more. Thank you so much for spending time with me on Becoming Conversations in Elegance and Empowerment. If something in today's conversation spoke to you and deeper focused support feels right, I invite you to explore private coaching at becomingpublishing.com. Until next time, stay elegant, stay empowered.
Becoming the magnet.